Hello everyone, and welcome to this short, I hope short, screencast on how to configure Google Drive app after you've installed it, and also to explain a little bit about why we're using Google Drive app. Now, first things first, if you notice, what I noticed just before I started making this screencast, or after the first time I made it, that it does not capture the menu bar. Even when you're doing a screencast and you're capturing the entire screen, QuickTime doesn't consider the menu bar as part of the screen. Perhaps there's a way to capture that as well. I don't know what it is. If you tell me, I'd appreciate it. Now, so this is the menu bar. You've all seen this. It's at the very top of your screen. And the two things to point out for this screencast are the Google Drive app, which you see here. Now, if it's there, it indicates the app is running. If it's not there, your app is not running, and that's not good. So to restart the app, you can use this magnifying glass over here, which is called Spotlight, and you can search for the Google Drive app to restart it. Now, I'll refer to those two things during the screencast, but you won't see them. So first off, well, maybe I should just explain why are we using the Google Drive app? Well, I've got it installed. It's running. If I click on the app, you can see it here. So it's running and everything's up to date. Now, it has created my Drive. It has created a folder called My Drive, and then as you saw in the instructions, I've also created a favorite to the My Drive. And here is the contents of my Google Drive folder from upstairs at the server. And it's now I see a quote copy of it here. And I'll explain why I'm saying quote copy in a minute. So for example, I can click on this folder from 2020-21. And if I look at here, I have folders for each of the classes that I was teaching. And if I click on this year 8 folder, let's just drill in. Now I can see the shared folder for each student in the class. And if I click up here on Adams, I can see all of his source files. Now note, I'm not looking on his Google Drive, I'm looking in my Finder. And I can also see all his island files. So for example, if I want to run or check or give feedback on one of the exercises, I can start up JRU and then open, for example, exercise 1A, collect flowers. There's the source file, and here is the island file. So this is the whole reason we're using it. This is the reason we're using Google Drive app in year 8, so that teachers can access your files directly from their Finder, without having to download stuff from Google Drive, and it's a big headache. And so how does this work? Well, I'm in my Finder over here, and let's say you're in your Finder on your computer, and as you change your source file or you change an island file, that change is then pushed upstairs to your Google Drive at the server. And at the same time, my Google Drive app notices that change and can pull down those files into my Finder. So as you make the change, I see the updated file over here, and then I can easily look at your stuff in JRoot. So that's why we're using it. Now, how to configure it once you've installed it. So I've just opened up the Google Drive app window again, and yeah, so here's the gear wheel for the preferences. Click on Preferences, and there are 4 things to note here: Open in Finder, Stream and Mirror, and this additional gear wheel. Now there's also this guy over here, which I think you can safely ignore for now. This is a way to add additional folders or specify additional folders from your Finder that you want to push upstairs to google.com. We're not using that at the moment, so I'm going to bypass that. So let's, for example, first off, let's talk about Open in Finder. What can you do with that? If for some reason you lose your, Let's go back to My Drive. So here is my Drive favorite in the Favorites panel. And let's suppose I accidentally drag it off to the right and I lose the favorite. Well, how to recreate that favorite? It's not that easy. I found down here, you can see the path bar, and I found it very difficult to relocate or locate the Google Drive folder in the Finder. So if you want to recreate this and you can't find your My Drive folder in the Finder, just come back here to Preferences and open in Finder. And it opens up another Finder window, and there it is. So you can just simply drag this folder into the Favorites panel and recreate the favorite for that folder. All right, next up, let's go back to the Preferences, wherever they are. They're over here. Okay, difference between streaming and mirroring. When you mirror, which you don't want to do, you're copying down the contents of every single file at google.com into your Finder. Now, that's not a big deal if you just have a small number of files. I have over 50 gigabytes, so I don't want to be doing that. So I'm going to stream them instead. And streaming copies the names of the files, but not the contents of the files. So if I go back to the Finder, and let's go back to My Drive. Okay, why is it so slow? Yeah, my Mac's running very slow today. So I'm scrolling down, so you can see I've got a zillion files here. But most of them I'm never going to use in the Finder. For example, here's a MOV file. It's 240 megabytes. Well, here's another one that's 650 megabytes. Well, that file has not been copied down. This is just the name of that file. Now, if I double-click on this MOV file, it will then copy the file to my Finder, and then I can watch it. So even though it indicates the size over here, these files are not occupying this space until you double-click on them, on any file. So that's the difference between streaming and mirroring. Next up is, and finally, is this second gear wheel. And in here, there are a couple of settings which you should, well, the most important one is down here toward the bottom, where it says Launch Google Drive on System Startup. Now, I notice that this is not enabled after you install Google Drive app, so you should come in here and turn that on so that the app starts when you start your computer. The other two things I noticed, this is minor, these file types, both of these were enabled, and this is for indicating additional files that you want to be synced. I don't have any need to sync screenshots up to Google Drive, and I don't even know what RAW files are. So I just turn these two off. You can do the same. You can leave them the way they are. Just pointing that out. All right, that's enough for now. Click Done, and then you're done. And that's it. Just make sure your Google Drive app is running, and you should be set to go. All right, cheerio. Bye.